Staging wheat in the field can be pretty challenging, and the reason is that wheat flowers differently across the field, but also over the plant of the plant. And so what you can see here, this is a typical wheat plant. Okay, so you can see the large main head, and right now this head has started to flower. So you can see here there are some yellow anthers that are sticking out of that head. These heads will begin to flower in the center, and then flowering will proceed up and down that head. Okay, now that's the main tiller. The majority of your yield is made in that main tiller, and flowering across the entire plant can take several days, and that's because you also have not only a primary tiller, but you have secondary tillers. The secondary tillers are at the base of the plant or lower on the canopy, and you can see they're often much smaller and a little further behind in development. So whereas this head is flowering, below it the secondary tillers are just emerging from the boot stage, and so we would expect that this would take probably another 2 or 3 days before you see flowering, at least, maybe more. So you have the component of the individual plant varying in flowering as well as the field. And this is probably one of the reasons why our fungicide applications are not 100% effective, because it's very difficult to get good coverage of all of the heads of wheat at the time when they're all susceptible. So it is pretty challenging in that regard. When we are looking at staging our wheat for making a head blight spray, what we are going to do is we're going to focus on the main tillers, and we're going to look and see if we have roughly 30 to 50% of those main tillers at some stage in flowering. Now, one thing that's important to note is that flowering can take place, especially in a hot day, can take place over the course of several hours. So typically my guideline is I'll get out in the morning and just quick do an assessment of the field, and if I know that the plants had headed roughly 3 or 4 days prior and I see flowering start like in this field, I'm fairly confident that if I make a spray by the end of the day, that field is going to be pretty close to being at that start of flowering stage. This particular plot will likely be would need a spray within the next 3 to 5 days based on the stages of these plants, and that's because we can see some are starting to flower. Most of those main tillers are coming out of the boot, and they had already started to head about 4 days ago, so I expect that we're going to see full flower in this plot over the next 2 to 3 days. And so because we have a 5-day window to make, 5 to 6 day window to make a fungicide application with Proline, Fusarium, or Caramba, obviously we would want to be getting out, if this was a commercial field, making that application sometime within the next 5 or 6 days or so, and we would hit that window.